So this is going to be a very useful video on earnings winners. I just made a few $1,000s buying the earnings winner on NLS, but I want to explain once and for all what an earnings winner is. It's not just a company that beats expectations. ATSG didn't even report that great earnings, but you can see from the 3-year chart breakout, it is a perfect breakout. If you go back 5 years, it's an even more perfect breakout above this resistance at 850, 860. So this is an earnings winner. And you can see intraday today, it was uptrending, but it's been uptrending all day. And this is a nice reaction. It's far more important to study the reaction to earnings than the actual earnings itself, which is why I don't give a shit about earnings calendars. I care about percent gainers. I just went over this in a 2-hour challenge webinar, but it's a question that a lot of people had, like, why would I care about a stock like NLS? NLS, this is a 100-day chart. This is Nautilus. They make Bowflex. They're a boring company. But I put them on the watch list today. The high here was 990. If you go back 2 years, the high here was 990. So anything around 990.10, that's a breakout. I bought at 992. And I didn't want to do it because it's a slow-moving stock, but this is a perfect technical breakout. Look at the little line here, okay? And if you go back even more, if you go back 5 years, if you go back 20 years, there's still resistance, okay? But breaking above this, that leads me to think that, oh, there was support here at 1010. So 1010 is going to be resistance from 2003. But 2003 is a little, long to really matter. Probably this gap is going to fill. That's my most likely guess. Most gaps fill eventually when they get close. They probably had bad earnings back here in 2007. So my guess is it goes back to 1150. So buying at 992, just above the breakout at 990 was a good buy. And here it is at 1012, 1013. This is basically where I sold it. The markets are down. And also when I say the markets are down, because I trade small cap stocks, I mean the Russell 2000, the Wilshire 5000, the smallest companies in the world. The Russell 2000 is down 1% today, while the Dow and the S&P are nearly unchanged. But because I trade small caps, you have to focus on the fact that the Russell 2000 is down 1%. So it's a down market, and this is up strongly. So I bought this on the technical breakout. Second day after earnings, you don't have to guess on earnings. Yesterday I almost bought it here midday, but the breakout kind of failed. So when you have a second attempt over 10 or 990, that's when I like to buy, especially in the morning, because then it can run up all day. It's a new day and you don't know how far it's going to go. It went up to 1030, but it wasn't meant to be, because the overall market going down hurts it, because 3 out of 4 stocks follow the market. But I'm glad that I illustrated this trade live in my weekly trading challenge webinar. This is one of the benefits of being my trading challenge student. You get to watch me trade live. And if you have any questions, it helps, because I was analyzing why I'm buying this here, why I'm selling, why I'm minimizing my position, and why I got out. My last sale was for 4,800 shares at 1010. So I made like 20 cents a share. If you look at the trade afterwards, you're like, you just scalped his subscribers. That's it. You don't take into account that I don't want to trade against subscribers. I don't want to scalp subscribers, okay? Never follow my alerts, but understand why I'm trading it. Why did I buy it at 992? Why did I buy a lot of shares, 20,000 shares? Because I thought that it was going to go higher, because it was a perfect technical breakout with a good catalyst. DXM is very similar price. This had a nice spike yesterday due to earnings, but you also weren't sure if it was due to earnings or just Seeking Alpha. They also had a positive Seeking Alpha article. So today, when it was in the 920s, 930s, I was like, good, I'm glad I didn't do it. But it started spiking all day, uptrending. And if you look at the 2-day chart, yesterday it had resistance here at 978. So this was a nice breakout right here. And it went from 980 to 10, and it's slow moving. It went all the way up to 1020, so you had 40 cents of upside. Now it's down at 990. Remember, yesterday it was strong in the morning up until 11:30 in the morning. I'm filming this. Guess what time it is? 11:30. Exactly. Literally just seconds ago. So this is not a stock that I want to buy midday. But I am impressed that it broke yesterday's high of 980. So this is still a potential buy. ATSG is another potential buy. This one just keeps going. I was talking about this in the webinar. Some guy was like shorting it at 840, and he's like, well, if it breaks 850, then that's my stop loss, and if it goes down to 830, then I have a win. Terrible decision to short an earnings winner on a multi-year breakout. ATSG just keeps going here. It's a perfect technical breakout. Especially if it can hold this 840, 850 level. I don't know if it can. It's early in the day. Earnings weren't spectacular. But last time it broke out here, 6, it went to, it went to 7 within a few weeks. So it's not a fast-moving stock. So you have to anticipate that when you're buying this. Some people were just buying it all the way up here like, 880, it's a breakout. I'm going to give it some time. I'm not going to buy this midday either. But NLS, 1015, this was a nice breakout buy right here, even though it went up and it came down and now it's up. ARCI was my breakout buy attempt yesterday, and I sold because it went up so quickly. Because as I mentioned in the webinar, several chat rooms and newsletters were like, "Oh my God, it's a breakout at 360," and meanwhile I'm in at 340. This was the breakout right here, 100-day chart. If you look at the 200-day chart, that had some resistance here at 365. So, yes, it was a breakout, but it also has always, failed after these big spikes. So I'm not really that surprised by today's drop, which is why I sold out yesterday, short term. So these are just some of the earnings winners. I want to also bring up ODP because this is an earnings winner, and people are like, "Why aren't you buying this? It's a lower price stock." Because it has resistance everywhere. Where is it going to go? It's got resistance here at 5. It's got resistance here at 540. It's got resistance here at 580. Sure, it might get there, but this is not a stock that's easy to buy. If you look at my earnings attempted buys on XOOM, same kind of resistance everywhere. They have blowout earnings, and they're not going anywhere. SMCI, blowout earnings. They had a nice spike, and now they're fading because you have all this resistance. It's much easier to buy a stock that's breaking out to new highs on multiple time frames, not just one time frame. DXM, beautiful, beautiful. If it can hold this 980, 10, 990 level. I don't know if it will, NLS is up strongly, holding its breakout. ATSG is holding its breakout. So all three of these are potential buys. NLS is probably the weakest. I chose, wrong there. Well, I guess we got 40 cents of upside, which was good. DXM, you had 40 cents of upside. ATSG was the one that got away. Over the former breakout of 820, there's 50 cents of upside, and this is more volatile. So, you have better odds by focusing on stocks that are breaking out to new highs with good earnings, with good catalysts, even when the market is going down. And now, as I'm filming this is making new day highs. So I should be in this. I really should. But I want to give it more time because it's midday. And I'm kind of out of it. I've been, audibling for the past 2 hours for my trading challenge students. I haven't had time to research or read the transcripts, the way that I like. I do want to give a shout out to one of my newest students. He's been studying for 2 months, and his first short was AMRS, and he made a few $100 shorting it yesterday at 320, he said, and covering today in the 280s or 290s. This is the polar opposite of the earnings winners. This one is breaking lower. You can see that it had support here at 330 and some support here at 3 and some support here at 320. So anywhere in the low 3s. I think this is probably the most meaningful support because you can see it came down and that was a big bounce. These two are more recent, so they're less meaningful and they're a little choppier. So when it breaks support here at 330, that's important. But more importantly, he shorted because there was a street sweeper expose. So it was a technical crack with a negative catalyst, which is a beautiful, inversion of buying a stock that's going higher with a positive catalyst. NLS, by the way, is up to 1018. I probably should have this in my long-term newsletter. It's just such a slow mover. Buying a stock with an earnings win based on the reaction to earnings, not just based on the numbers, gives you better odds of it going higher over the next days, over the next few weeks. I'll give you my best example, VDSI, where I bought this here in the 920s and 930s, and it's kind of a slow mover. And some people are like, why are you buying this? Well, guess what? It went all the way up to 12. I sold in the high 9s and low 10s. I underestimated how far it would go. But it's a great example of how you don't need to guess earnings ahead of time, okay? You shouldn't guess earnings ahead of time because most earnings aren't going to be great, and most of them aren't going to be an earnings winner. So you don't need to guess on news. You don't need to trade as much as you think you do. You don't need to research as much as you think you do. You just need to know the patterns, and you need to know why. Why do these stocks go higher? ATSG just made a new day high at 885. Because they're perfect technical breakouts, so it gets the technical traders involved. It's on earnings, so you could make the case that the company is being valued higher based on the most recent fundamentals. And, you know, this is good. The markets are coming back a little bit now, and all these stocks are getting stronger. DXM is still holding the breakout, still holding it. NLS is back to 1020. So now it's 30 cents roughly from my buy alert. I know you want to trade lower price stocks. I understand. I get complaints. People are like, why are you trading $10, $20 stocks? Well, that's where the earnings winners are, okay? If these were $3, $4, $5 stocks, I would love them even more. I would love them much more because then I could take bigger positions and, you know, making 20, 30 cents a share is more impressive on a $2 or $3 stock than a $10 stock. But unfortunately, this is where the earnings breakouts are happening. So you got to go with them. You can't ignore them. PGFY, fantastic shorting by me. You know, I was shorting it initially on this spike here. Let me just show you the total intraday so you can get an idea. I was shorting on this spike here in the 135s, 136s, covering in here at 120-ish when it held support. And then shorting it again overnight here at 140, 130-ish. Again, I did not want this pump to die after day one. I always root for pumps to go as high and as long as possible. It gives them more downside. But that said, I'm also not going to ignore fading price action. You know, this is how pumps end. It is. And, you know, it was kind of crazy with the negative news overnight where the company said they weren't aware of the promotion campaign, and then the gap down today. I should have been short going into the close last night. That was my mistake for playing it so conservatively. I just thought that it was down so much it might bounce. And then the CFO resigns and calls for an investigation. I mean, that's the most damning news that you could possibly have. So shorting pump and dumps and, you know, buying earnings winners, I know it sounds simple. I know you're like, come on, Tim, give me some more stuff. But as I like to say, this is not Olympic diving. You know, you're not graded on the difficulty of a trade. You're graded on the success. And to have the best odds of success, you need to go with the indicators, which is buying earnings and contract winners when they're breaking out on multi-month or multi-year technical, you know, time frames, and shorting pump and dumps when they start fading. And my high net worth broker had unlimited shares to short. I could have shorted, you know, 500,000 shares. Unfortunately, I didn't know the news was coming out. You know, people are like, Tim, how do you always know the news is coming out? Same thing with CNTO when I made 70 grand when I was shorting it, you know, here big at 208, 209. People are like, why are you shorting it so big? Do you know something? I didn't know the stock was going to be halted. And I didn't know the stock would drop 99% in 5 days, or else I wouldn't have covered here in the low ones. I shorted because this was a broken chart. You know, you see here the crash, bounce higher, crash, bounce higher, crash, bounce lower. That's a trend change. So I'm always looking at trends and price action. Look at NLS. It's just making me feel guilty that I didn't buy in on the dip. You had two opportunities for NLS. You could buy the initial breakout, which was quick, or you can make the dip buy here. The dip buy turns out to be even safer and better and longer. So learn the patterns, focus on price action. If you're not comfortable trading, don't trade, but at least learn and study and get used to these indicators in key levels, because this is how I got rich. This is how I became a millionaire so quickly. This is why two of my students have become officially millionaires, two other unofficial millionaire students, and many more. As long as you focus on good quality patterns like this, you're going to win the majority of the time, and you're going to beat the odds of everything. Thank you. So I am filming this just 20 minutes after the last one. Um, NLS just made a new day high at 10:30, so it's a nice 40 cent a share winner from my buy alert. DXM is actually failing at 10, just like it kind of did yesterday at 11:30 a.m. And ATSG just hit 9, or 8.99. From the breakout at 8.20. So now it's a 70 cent a share winner. I see people, asking in the chat room like ATSG, DXM, and NLS. Which one do you buy? I bought NLS this morning because it's the best chart breakout. But you see, it's also choppy. A lot of people were like, "Tim, it went straight down. You're wrong." And it takes 2 hours. You like that voice? For people to realize that, actually this is right. I'm not making these patterns up in my head. These patterns I have learned for over 15 years of trading now and 6 years of teaching. And this is why I have millionaire students, because I focus on good patterns rather than junk. People bring up random stocks, random charts, random news all the time. If you learn to focus only on these best charts, it's amazing how different your trading will be. I wish I had more advice. People say, "Tim, I've lost money. Like, what do I do to get back on track?" Well, you need to just focus on good charts. I had this one famous hater. I don't even remember his name, but he was like, "Tim, you trade such gimmies. Why don't you be a man and step up and trade harder stuff?" No, I want to trade gimmies and I want to teach gimmies. I really can't say this enough with NLS. It's a perfect breakout over 990 over the April 1st highs. If you scroll back 200 days, there's no resistance. If you scroll back 2 years, there's resistance from last July, and the high was also 990. So it's a perfect technical breakout. And I know 990 to 1030 isn't like, oh my God, this is revolutionary. But if you can make 4% on your money, every day or every few days or every few weeks when patterns like this pops up, that's revolutionary. Because most people sadly lose money trading. They sadly, keep their money in bank accounts or CDs and they earn 2, 3, 4% per year and they basically just keep up with inflation. And when you have this predictability, I'm filming this at 11:54, so in the first 2.5 hours of the trading day, where you can make 4% on your money. And ATSG, I really should have been there. This pisses me off. This is making nearly 10% on your money. So it's not like you're going to double your account in a day, but if you have the right perspective and you say, you know what, these are earnings winners, this is very good, this is life-changing, because how you grow your account is 4% gains, 10% gains, 5% gains. Every now and then, like PGFY, where I was shorting this in the 130s, had I had the proper guts, I'd be up, $1 a share, like 70, 80% in a day. So shorting pump and dumps, and this is best case scenario. I rarely will ever hold for 70 or 80% gains. I usually take 10, 20, 30%. But I'm just saying, whether you take 10% or 4% or 20 or 30%, trades like this, gains like this, focusing on pure play patterns. And right now we have a lot of them. PGFY, perfect pump and dump to short. NLS, and NLS, by the way, keeps going. I don't know where this stops. Right now it's a 4% gain, but this could keep going. So, right now you have NLS, you have DXM, which is an earnings winner, you have ATSG, which is an earnings winner, and PGFY, which is a pump and dump. You have 4 prime examples of my strategy that have worked to a T. And I don't know how they're all going to end up, but I do know that there was between 4 and 80% gains possible on each of them. And, not every earnings winner is going to be perfect. Not every pump and dump is going to collapse so quickly. But by focusing on these pure plays and ignoring all the other shit out there, there's so many potential plays, there's so many different stocks, there's so many chart patterns. If you ignore all that other stuff, your odds of success will improve dramatically. And that's all I want. I want your odds to improve. I want your trading to improve. I want your accounts to grow. I want you to go all over Twitter and Facebook and be like, wow, Tim's strategy is simple, but it works. That would make me happy because I want more millionaire students. And the way that I'm going to do it is by getting you guys to focus on the plays that work time and again. Thank you.
My name is Tim Sykes, and I teach people to trade stocks. I am a self-made multimillionaire.
So this is the ideal trade that I'm going to talk about. I want you guys to understand every single aspect of this trade.